Listen, I'm going to cut straight to it, because this could literally change the way people respond to you starting today. You don't need to be the smartest in the room. You don't need to be the most confident. You don't even need to have the perfect words. There are just 4 simple words. Yes, only 4 that instantly pull people toward you. And once you know them, you'll see doors open, conversations flow, and connections spark like never before. When you think about the power of words, it's easy to underestimate just how much they shape the way people feel about you. Most people walk into conversations believing that their value comes from how impressive they sound, how smart they appear, or how confident they look on the outside. But here's the truth: none of that matters if your words don't create an emotional connection. The human brain is wired to respond emotionally first, logically second. That means the very first thing people feel from you comes not from your job title, your appearance, or your resume, but from the words you choose in those opening moments. Think about it. A single sentence can shift the energy of a room, make someone feel safe, or spark a level of curiosity that draws them in closer. The reason certain people are magnetic isn't because they were born charming. It's because they know how to use words in a way that makes others feel something real. Connection always begins at the emotional level. Imagine someone walks up to you and rattles off facts about themselves or tries to impress you with their accomplishments. It feels cold, rehearsed, and frankly boring. But now picture someone who looks you in the eye and says something simple that makes you feel understood, seen, or important. That's the difference between noise and resonance. When your words carry emotion, they bypass the surface level of conversation and strike the heart. And when that happens, people remember you, not for what you said exactly, but for how you made them feel. This is why certain interactions linger in your mind while others fade within seconds. The beauty of creating emotional connection through words is that it doesn't require you to be extraordinary. It only requires you to be intentional. Every person you meet is carrying around invisible weight, stress, insecurities, doubts, distractions. The right words have the power to pierce through all of that and deliver a moment of clarity or warmth. That's why a short, authentic phrase can carry more impact than an entire speech filled with fluff. People don't need you to be perfect, they need you to be real. And when your words deliver honesty or vulnerability, it builds a bridge between you and them. That bridge is what allows trust to form. Think about the last time someone said something small but powerful to you. Maybe they said, "I get what you mean," or "that must have been tough," or "you're not alone in this." Those words don't look groundbreaking on paper, but in the moment they feel like oxygen. Why? Because they validate your experience and make you feel connected to another human being. That's the exact effect you can create intentionally. By choosing words that speak to feelings rather than facts, you become someone others lean toward instead of away from. Another key element is tone. The same 4 words can either build a connection or destroy it depending on the way you deliver them. Connection isn't just about vocabulary, it's about presence. When your tone is warm, curious, and genuine, even the simplest words land with more impact. This is why some people can say very little and still draw everyone into their orbit. They've mastered the art of aligning their words with the right emotional energy. At the end of the day, the words you choose are not just sounds that come out of your mouth. They are signals. Signals that tell people whether you are safe, whether you are trustworthy, whether you are someone worth opening up to. When your words carry empathy, curiosity, and authenticity, they send the signal that you're not just here to talk, you're here to connect. And that's the kind of signal people can't resist, because deep down, every one of us is craving connection more than anything else. Curiosity is one of the most underestimated forces in human interaction, yet it is the very thing that draws people closer without them even realizing why. Most of us are taught that to attract someone's attention, we need to project confidence, display authority, or showcase our strengths. But the reality is that none of those qualities are as magnetic as genuine curiosity. Confidence might get someone to notice you for a moment, but curiosity gets them to stay, because it flips the focus off you and places it on them. When you show interest in another person's thoughts, feelings, and experiences, you activate something powerful inside them, the desire to open up, to share, and to connect. People rarely remember what you say about yourself, but they will always remember how you made them feel important. The beauty of curiosity is that it makes people feel seen, and being seen is a universal human craving. When you lean in, ask a thoughtful question, or show that you genuinely care about someone's answer, you're sending an unspoken message: you matter. This simple shift changes the dynamic instantly, because most people walk through life feeling overlooked or unheard. In a world where everyone is busy trying to be interesting, the person who chooses to be interested stands out. Curiosity isn't about interrogation, it's about invitation. It's about inviting someone to share a part of themselves that might otherwise stay hidden, and that invitation makes you unforgettable. What makes curiosity so effective is that it operates beneath the surface level of interaction. Confidence can sometimes feel intimidating or even performative, but curiosity feels safe. It creates space. It tells people, you can take up room here, I want to hear what you think. That's why even the most guarded individuals begin to soften when they're met with authentic interest. It disarms defensiveness, lowers barriers, and shifts the conversation from transactional to transformational. It's not about asking endless questions, it's about asking the right ones, the ones that show you're paying attention, the ones that reflect that you care about more than just filling silence. Think of a time when someone asked you a question that no one else ever bothered to ask. Maybe it was as simple as, what do you love most about what you do? Or how did that experience really feel for you? Those questions linger because they create space for reflection and truth. They cut through the surface layer of polite conversation and dive straight into meaning. That's the kind of connection curiosity sparks, the kind that makes people feel drawn to you without even knowing why. Curiosity also has the unique ability to turn ordinary interactions into extraordinary ones. A casual chat with a coworker can suddenly feel profound if you ask a question that shows you truly care about their perspective. A short encounter with a stranger can transform into a memorable moment if you lean in with curiosity instead of rushing through. Every conversation holds hidden doors, and curiosity is the key that unlocks them. And once those doors are open, you step into deeper connection, trust, and attraction. The irony is that so many people waste energy rehearsing what they are going to say to impress others, when the real magic is in listening and asking. Curiosity isn't a tactic, it's a mindset. It means showing up not to prove yourself, but to discover. And that discovery makes people want to be around you, because curiosity makes them feel alive. People love to talk about themselves, but more importantly, they love when someone actually listens. By practicing curiosity, you give them that gift, and in return, you become someone they're naturally drawn toward, not because you demanded attention, but because you gave it first. Authenticity is one of those qualities that everyone says they value, yet so many people struggle to practice it in real time, especially in conversations where they want to make a good impression. The temptation is always to overthink, to rehearse lines in your head, to filter yourself in hopes of sounding smarter, funnier, or more impressive. But here's the paradox. Every layer of overthinking pulls you further away from the very thing that makes you attractive to others, which is your real self. People don't connect with masks, they connect with humanity. When you strip away the performance and simply show up as you are, with your quirks, your natural rhythm, your genuine energy, you invite others to relax too. That's why authenticity beats overthinking every single time. It creates trust and comfort instantly, while overthinking creates distance. Think about the last time you were around someone who was trying too hard. Maybe they were dropping big words into casual conversation, or forcing jokes that didn't quite land, or constantly adjusting their body language as if they were on stage. Even if they were nice, something about the interaction felt off. It's because you could sense the performance. Now think of the opposite. Someone who wasn't polished, maybe even stumbled over their words, but you felt an instant connection to them because they were real. That's the difference authenticity makes. People can forgive awkwardness, but they can't connect with a facade. Overthinking comes from fear, fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. The problem is, when you let that fear run the show, you lose the ability to actually connect in the moment. You're so busy managing how you appear that you forget to be present, and presence is where connection lives. Authenticity brings you back to the present because it doesn't demand perfection, it simply demands honesty. It means being okay with saying, "I don't know." When you don't have the answer, laughing when something is funny even if no one else laughs, or sharing a genuine thought without second guessing whether it's impressive enough. The most magnetic people are not flawless, they're unapologetically themselves. They don't waste energy trying to hide every imperfection or polish every detail of their expression. They lean into it. That's what makes them easy to be around. They don't create pressure, they create relief. When you meet someone authentic, you feel like you can breathe because you're not caught up in the unspoken performance that so often weighs down social interactions. That's why authenticity doesn't just attract people, it keeps them close. There's also a contagious quality to authenticity. When you show up as yourself, it unconsciously gives permission for others to do the same. You lower the bar of perfection, and suddenly people feel safe to drop their guard. They might reveal something personal, laugh more freely, or admit something they've been holding back. This creates intimacy, which is the core of attraction. Authenticity is not about oversharing or being raw all the time, it's about being consistent. Your words, your tone, your energy matching who you really are. That alignment is rare, which is why people are drawn to it when they find it. It's easy to think that attraction is about strategy, like if you just say the right line or hit the right note, you'll win people over. But the truth is, no strategy is more effective than showing up as yourself without apology. When you stop obsessing over how you're being perceived, you free yourself to actually connect. Overthinking is noise, authenticity is signal. And in a world full of noise, the signal is what stands out. It's fascinating how often we overlook the smallest things when it comes to human connection, because it's usually the small things that create the biggest shifts. We tend to think attraction is built on grand gestures, long conversations, or big, impressive statements. But the truth is that it's often the tiniest phrases, the ones that almost seem too simple, that completely change the way people see you. A single short sentence said at the right time and in the right way can leave a mark far deeper than a rehearsed speech. These small phrases are powerful because they slip under people's defenses. They don't feel forced or calculated, they feel natural and authentic, and that makes them land with a weight far heavier than their length. The reason small phrases shift perception so strongly is that they hit directly at the emotional level without overcomplicating things. Imagine someone telling you, "I hear you," after you've shared something vulnerable, or someone saying, "That makes sense," when you thought you might be judged. Those are just a few words, but they change the whole energy of the moment. They signal validation, understanding, and acceptance. You don't need to deliver an essay to make someone feel valued. You just need the right few words that unlock their sense of safety. That's why these small phrases carry disproportionate influence. They show attentiveness, empathy, and respect in ways that long explanations often fail to do. There's also an element of surprise in small phrases. When someone uses a short, genuine line at the right moment, it cuts through the noise of daily conversation. People are so used to generic responses, like "oh, that's nice," or "cool," that when they hear something direct and meaningful, it jolts them. They pay attention, and paying attention is the first step toward feeling connection. Small phrases also make communication effortless. They don't require preparation. They don't require you to be clever. They just require you to be present and intentional. Think of how much lighter it feels when someone simply says, "I get it," compared to someone who launches into a long-winded story to try and prove they understand. The brevity is what makes it powerful. In fact, small phrases work best precisely because they don't try to do too much. They leave space for the other person to fill, which draws them deeper into the interaction. It's like opening a door instead of pushing someone inside. That open door is what creates the feeling of connection, because it allows the other person to step in freely rather than being pulled in. Another reason these small phrases shift perception is that they can be used in almost any context: personal relationships, professional interactions, even casual conversations with strangers. They're versatile. A phrase like "tell me more" can turn a brief exchange at work into a meaningful connection. A phrase like "I'm with you" can transform tension into trust. These phrases aren't complicated, but they're remembered because they change the direction of the moment. They remind people you're not just hearing them, you're actually with them. What makes this so powerful is that anyone can do it. You don't need a special gift, you don't need to be charismatic or extroverted, you just need to choose to be intentional with your words. Small phrases become anchors in conversations. People might forget the details of what was said, but they won't forget how those phrases made them feel. They become little emotional touch points, moments that stand out in the sea of everyday interactions. That's why it's not about the number of words you use, but the quality. The right short phrase can shift how people perceive you from being just another voice in the crowd to someone they feel drawn to. And once that shift happens, the connection deepens naturally, without force, without pressure, just from the weight of a few carefully chosen words. Opportunities don't always show up as big announcements or flashing signs. Most of the time they arrive quietly, disguised in the smallest interactions. A single conversation can change your trajectory. A simple introduction can open a new path. And often what determines whether those doors open or stay closed comes down to the words you use in the moment. The right words are like keys, small, almost ordinary in appearance, but capable of unlocking something extraordinary. When you know how to use them with intention, you stop waiting for chances and start creating them. Attraction, influence, connection, all of it begins with language, and language is something everyone has access to, but few use with precision. The reason words can open doors so effortlessly is that they shape perception. People form impressions of you within seconds, and while body language plays a role, your words seal that impression. Think about it. Someone who says, "I believe in you," instantly positions themselves as supportive and trustworthy, while someone who says, "That'll never work," closes off possibility before it even begins. Words either expand space or shrink it. They either invite people closer or push them away. When you choose words that affirm, encourage, and connect, you create an environment where people want to say yes to you, want to help you, want to remember you. That's how doors open, not because you forced them, but because your words made people feel something positive they didn't expect. Small, intentional phrases also signal who you are at your core. For example, when you say, "I'd love to learn from you," it shows humility and respect, qualities people admire. When you say, "How can I support you?" it demonstrates generosity and partnership. These aren't long speeches, they're short lines, but they communicate volumes about your character. And people don't build connections based on resumes or credentials nearly as much as they build them on character. The right words reveal your values, and when your values align with someone else's, the connection is immediate and often lasting. That's why language matters. It's not about sounding smart, it's about signaling the kind of person you are. Another reason the right words open doors is because they create momentum. A conversation that feels flat can suddenly come alive with a phrase that sparks curiosity or interest. Saying, "That's fascinating, tell me more," can transform an interaction from routine to engaging. Saying, "I really appreciate that," can shift someone's energy from guarded to open. These small shifts compound, and before you know it, the door to deeper conversation, collaboration, or even opportunity swings wide open. Words grease the hinges, they make the opening smoother, easier, more natural. What's most powerful about this is that it requires no special skill beyond awareness. You don't need perfect timing, you don't need years of practice, you just need to be intentional with what you choose to say. Every conversation is a chance to either build or break connection, and the difference often comes down to a single phrase. People gravitate toward those who make them feel encouraged, understood, and respected, and the simplest words are often the ones that do it best. The irony is that while most people chase strategies, scripts, or complicated communication techniques, the truth is much simpler. It's not about saying more, it's about saying less with more meaning. The right words are often the shortest ones, the ones that don't sound rehearsed or polished, but real. They're the words that validate, uplift, and invite. They're the words that people replay in their minds long after the moment has passed. And it's those very words that open doors you didn't even know existed. Because when people feel good around you, they want to bring you closer, introduce you to others, and keep opportunities flowing your way.